we all know hate runs deep. It is the core to racism and bigotry in this country. And there are still people here from back in the day when they was hanging Aboriginal Americans from trees. There's a story out now of a 111-year-old woman from Tulsa who's a lone survivor. God kept her on this planet for 111 years so she can tell her story in this day and time to remind us our perseverance is our most envied quality. Okay? And what Roseanne Barr was talking to Eon about last night on their podcast, which was super eerie. First, I just wanted to interject a thought. I'm on my way to work. I'm commuting right now. And I just wanted to share this with you guys and tell me what you think. I've noticed an increase of isolated incidents that are becoming more and more frequent. And the common denominator in that are elderly white people starting some type of chaos, argument, getting physical with people. And we got to understand the psyops of this. You know, they're old and they were here since the days of hanging black people from trees. So they're not hard to convince to carry out a mission, to create confusion, chaos, disruption, anything to keep people further and further away from the truth. They're desperate at this point, but they're recruiting every and anybody, because why? Racism is a team sport. Racism is a team sport, yo. It don't matter who. It don't matter the color, gender, age, none of that. They have an underlying goal. All right. So that's number one. Stay away from these old white folks, because they here to start some shit with folks. Okay. Number two. The podcast clip that I shared last night, because I fell asleep on that. I didn't watch the whole clip, but what Roseanne Barr and Eon Cooper were talking about was on point. And I was rather shocked that she said that the Nazis came to America and America never won no war. Same thing I've been barking. It ain't because I sat back and read a whole bunch of books. You can just look at the history and the timeline of it and what came after, and it's not hard to figure out that America didn't win the war and the Germans came over here and basically took over shit. They weren't like blunt with it. They weren't like outward with it. They were integrated in American society. Where they're doctors, they're scientists, they're our teachers, they're your postal worker. Yeah, yeah. So I just thought that was interesting how she confirmed what I've always known. And another thing, and also there's a trend, obviously, going around where there are bigots responding to videos by Aboriginal Americans showing pride, showing no fear, telling the world we ready. So now their propaganda tactic is to have a bunch of these bigots online explaining how black folks were conquered. That's why they experimented on us. That's why we were slaves. We don't have a chance. They're gonna win. It's more them than us. And it's at this point it's redundant. Ain't nobody scared no more. I mean, it's like jump. You know what I'm saying? And let's see what happens. Because at this point, it's so blatant, the propaganda tactics. And I want to interject this. Since COVID, if you've been paying attention to the movies, all the movies that came out after COVID, all the actors, even though they're talking like they're American, are British actors with American accents. Think about that. And I'm watching credits where the actors are American. I'm like, where's Hollywood? What happened to all the people in Hollywood? Are they not working? Are they not paying their rent? What's really going on? My theory is to pull off a huge propaganda stunt, like Roseanne Barr mentioned, how they experiment on a contained population, fentanyl, and Hollywood using unemployed actors to become agents of chaos, or creating isolated incidents, or creating psyops, or creating a whole narrative, because you got plenty of people acting. If they're not making movies, what they doing? Why is there so many British sinners? All them people is British, except for Michael B. Jordan. They all Brits. You couldn't find no American actors? It makes you wonder, what are these unemployed actors doing? And just like I mentioned about, I'm seeing all these elderly are creating chaos. How we know these ain't actors? Every day you wake up and see another story of drama, of just chaos. How we know these aren't actors? To raise the frequency of confusion, dissent, anxiety. Racism is a team sport, and it requires many players to pull that bullshit off. Okay? So, I mean, it's just so much stuff going on. I can share stuff all day long. And I'm just saying, like, dude, like, some of this has to be contrived. I'm not saying all of it, but I'm saying some of this has to be contrived. False flags is what they call it. Okay? Just something to ponder. I'm at work now, so I gotta go. Peace, and may the source be with you. Like I said, I explained how Hollywood is a tool to project, to make it seem like a certain demographic of individuals are superior, or more enlightened, or more favored. And it's all propaganda, man. It's all a trick. We all know yin and yang. Good cannot exist without evil. There's a balance. Evil will always exist. Good will always be there. It's a balance. But the balance has been tilted, right? It's been altered. And so you got evil here and good down here. Doug Rice said, all the good people in the world are now gone because they fought those wars that we've been in consecutively for like 23 years. All the good people went and fought those wars and died in those wars. So we're dealing with a whole bunch of evil motherfuckers who got the upper hand. But when you have chaos and people ain't focusing on praying to a God that ain't helping, people ain't focusing on being in church because the churches are hypocritical and they not doing nothing. You ain't got a whole lot of prayer going on, right? So you ain't praying to that wrong God. You ain't doing nothing. So what is that doing? Is balancing, is leveraging the field. Because we're thinking spiritually, we're tapping into our old ways. It's counteracting that evil, y'all. Trust and believe.